The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room ever built by any species in the known universe. Its walls stretched up into darkness, and floating platforms carried representatives from hundreds of different worlds. Light came from glowing crystals that hung in the air like frozen stars. The air itself was a carefully controlled mix that allowed most species to breathe without masks. On this day, the hall was packed. Word had spread across the galaxy that something interesting was about to happen. The Veth Empire had demanded a meeting with humanity, and everyone wanted to watch. General Torak of the Veth Empire stood at the central speaking platform. He was an impressive figure, even by alien standards. His body was covered in natural armor that looked like polished stone. 4 eyes sat in a face that seemed designed for war. When he moved, his joints made clicking sounds like weapons being loaded. Behind him stood 20 of his personal guards, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a small building. The Veth had been conquering worlds for 300 years. They had crushed 37 civilizations and enslaved billions of beings. Their fleet was the largest in the galaxy. Their soldiers were feared everywhere. When the Veth came to your world, you had 2 choices: surrender or die. Torak looked across the hall at the human delegation with clear disgust in his 4 eyes. There were only 5 humans present. They wore simple dark clothing with no armor and no visible weapons. At their front stood an older woman with gray hair pulled back from her face. Her name was Yuna, and she was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. "I called this meeting because I am tired of waiting," Torak announced. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. The translation devices carried his words to every being in the hall. For 10 years, the Veth Empire has expanded toward human space. For 10 years, we have waited for Earth to respond. And what has humanity done? He paused for effect, looking around the hall. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Whispers spread through the assembled species. This was true. Everyone had expected humanity to build warships, to form alliances, to prepare for the coming conflict. Instead, Earth had remained quiet. Their small fleets stayed in their own system. Their soldiers never mobilized. It was as if they did not understand the danger. "We have sent warnings," Torak continued. "We have made our intentions clear. The Veth will expand into human territory. Your colonies will become our colonies. Your resources will become our resources. This is the way of the universe. The strong take from the weak." Ambassador Yuna stood calmly, her hands folded in front of her. If she was afraid, she showed no sign of it. "General Torak," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "Earth has received your communications. We have discussed them at length. We have decided that we are not interested in war with the Veth Empire." Torak stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was an ugly sound, like metal scraping against metal. "Not interested? You speak as if you have a choice." He stepped closer to the edge of his platform. "Every species fights human. Every species sends their warriors when threatened. But humanity hides behind words and empty gestures. You are cowards. All of you." The word hung in the air. Cowards. In the Galactic Council, such an insult was rarely spoken. Wars had started over less, but Yuna did not react with anger. She simply nodded, as if Torak had made an interesting point about the weather. "We prefer to resolve conflicts in other ways," she said. "War is expensive. It wastes lives and resources. Surely there is something the Veth want that we could provide through trade or negotiation." Torak's mandibles clicked with amusement. "What we want is everything you have. Your worlds. Your technology. Your people as servants. Can you provide that through negotiation?" "No," Yuna admitted. "That would not be acceptable. Then we have nothing to discuss." Torak turned to address the entire hall. Let the galaxy witness the cowardice of humanity. They will not fight. They will not defend themselves. When the Veth fleet arrives at Earth, they will surrender like frightened animals. A young man standing behind Yuna leaned forward and whispered something in her ear. His name was Taiho, and he served as her assistant. Whatever he said made Yuna pause for just a moment. Then she spoke again. General Tarek, if you truly wish to test humanity's resolve, we will accept a formal challenge. Choose a location. We will send our response. This caught Tarek's attention. His 4 eyes narrowed. A challenge? You wish to face the Veth in combat? We wish to demonstrate that humanity is not what you believe us to be, Yuna replied. Name your terms. Torek considered this. A formal challenge was an old tradition, rarely used anymore. It allowed 2 parties to settle disputes without full-scale war. The rules were simple. Both sides would bring whatever forces they chose to a neutral location. The winner would gain significant political advantage. Very well, Torek said slowly. The neutral moon of Kareth 7. 1 standard cycle from now. Bring whatever forces you wish. Human. Bring your entire fleet if you have one. The Veth will be waiting. Agreed, Yuna said as the meeting ended. Representatives from dozens of species rushed to send messages to their homeworlds. This was major news. Humanity had finally been forced into a confrontation with the Veth. Most expected it would be a short and bloody lesson for the humans. Commander Vila, Torak's second-in-command, approached him as they left the hall. She was smaller than most Veth, but her mind was sharp. She had studied humans for years. General, she said quietly, our scouts report no human fleet movements. No mobilization of any kind. Torak waved his armored hand dismissively. They are cowards who have finally been shamed into action. They will come with whatever small force they can gather, and we will destroy them. Perhaps, Vela said, but I have read the classified reports about humans. The ones that make experienced officers request transfers to quiet sectors. Torak looked at her with annoyance. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that humanity has never lost a war, General. Not once in their recorded history, because they have never faced the Veth. Vila said nothing more, but as she watched the human delegation leave the hall, she noticed something that troubled her deeply. None of them looked worried. Not even slightly. Kareth 7 was a dead world. It had no life, no water, and almost no air. Its surface was covered in gray dust and ancient craters from rocks that had fallen from space millions of years ago. The only light came from a distant sun that painted everything in pale silver. This made it the perfect place for what the galaxy expected to be humanity's final lesson. The Veth arrived first. Their fleet filled the sky above the moon like a dark cloud. 12 destroyer-class warships, each one capable of burning a city to ash in seconds. 40 troop transport ships carrying the finest soldiers the Empire had to offer. Support vessels loaded with weapons, supplies, and medical equipment. On the surface, General Torak watched his army take position. 8,000 Veth warriors stood in perfect lines, their armor gleaming under portable lights. Each soldier carried plasma rifles that could cut through steel like paper. Heavy weapons teams set up positions on the higher ground. Combat vehicles rolled into formation, their engines rumbling like hungry beasts. It was an impressive display. Perhaps the most powerful military force ever assembled for a formal challenge. Torak stood on a raised command platform with his senior officers. Recording drones floated around them, capturing everything. This moment would be broadcast across the galaxy. Every species would see what happened when someone challenged the Veth Empire. How much time remains? Torak asked. The cycle ends in 4 standard hours, General, Commander Vela replied. She stood beside him, her eyes fixed on scanning equipment. Still no sign of a human fleet. Torak clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. They are probably gathering whatever small ships they have. It does not matter. Even if they brought 100 vessels, our fleet would crush them. The hours passed slowly. Veth soldiers checked their weapons again and again. Officers reviewed battle plans. Everyone waited for the human fleet to appear on their sensors that it never came. Instead, with only minutes left before the deadline, a single contact appeared. "General," a sensor officer called out. His voice confused. "We are detecting one incoming vessel. Very small. It appears to be a basic transport shuttle." Torak turned sharply. "One ship? Just one?" "Yes, General. No other contacts detected anywhere in the system." The command platform fell silent. Even Vila looked puzzled. This made no sense. No species would answer a formal challenge with a single small ship. It had to be a mistake. The shuttle descended through the thin atmosphere of Karath 7. It was an unremarkable vessel, the kind used to move cargo or small groups of passengers. No weapons were visible. No armor plating. It looked like something a merchant might use. It landed 300 meters from the Veth front line, sending up a cloud of gray dust. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the rear ramp of the shuttle lowered slowly. One figure walked out. 8,000. Veth soldiers watched as a single human approached them. He walked calmly, without hurry, his boots leaving prints in the ancient dust. He wore strange armor that was completely black and seemed to fit his body like a second skin. No helmet covered his face, revealing features that looked young, perhaps 30 years old by human standards. He carried no visible weapons. Torak stared in disbelief. Then he began to laugh. "This?" He roared, his voice amplified across the entire army. "This is humanity's answer? One soldier?" The laughter spread through the Veth ranks. Thousands of warriors found themselves unable to contain their amusement. After all the worry, all the preparation, Earth had sent a single man to face them. The human continued walking until he stood about 50 meters from the front line. Then he stopped and stood perfectly still, hands at his sides. His name was Park Dawn. He held the rank of Sergeant First Class in Earth's Strategic Response Division. He was 32 years old. He had completed missions on 11 different worlds without ever being seen by his targets, and he was exactly what Earth had decided to send. "General Torak," Dawn called out. His voice was calm, almost bored. "I am here to accept your surrender." The laughter stopped. The silence that followed was complete. Torak's 4 eyes blinked several times. He was certain he had not heard correctly. "What did you say?" he demanded. "I said I am here to accept your surrender," Dahan repeated. "It is standard procedure. We always offer the option first." Commander Vila checked her scanner. The human's heart rate was incredibly low. His body showed no signs of stress or fear. Either he was insane or he genuinely did not consider 8,000 armed soldiers to be a threat. Torak recovered from his shock and leaned forward on his platform. "You stand alone against the greatest army in the galaxy," he said slowly, as if explaining something to a child. "And you ask me to surrender?" "Yes. Why would I possibly do that?" Dahan looked at the Veth general with an expression that might have been pity. "Because you do not understand what you are facing. I am trying to give you a chance to avoid what comes next." "And what comes next, little human?" "I complete my mission." Torak laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. Something about this human disturbed him. No one should be this calm while standing alone against an army. "You are either very brave or very stupid," Torak said. "Either way, you will die here today, and humanity will learn its place in the universe." Dahan tilted his head slightly. "General, I have been given orders to minimize casualties." "That means your casualties. Earth does not want to harm your soldiers. They are just following orders. They have families waiting for them. You threaten us? Torak snapped. You stand there without even a weapon and threaten the Veth Empire? I am not threatening, Doan said patiently. I am explaining. There is a difference. Vela spoke quietly to Torak. General, his biometric readings are strange. He should be terrified. Any living being would be terrified. But his body shows nothing. No fear. No excitement. Nothing. He is in shock, Torak decided. His mind has broken from the fear. I do not think so, General. I think... She paused, unsure how to continue. I think he does not consider us dangerous. Torak had heard enough. This human had insulted the Veth Empire long enough. It was time to show the galaxy what happened to those who challenged them. First rank, Torak commanded. Kill him. 200 Veth soldiers raised their rifles. 200 targeting systems locked onto the lone human. 200 triggers were pulled. 200 bolts of plasma screamed toward Park Du Hundot, and then something impossible happened. The plasma bolts hit nothing but gray dust. Where Dahun had been standing, there was now empty space. The bolts burned holes in the ground and scattered rock in all directions. But the human was simply gone. For one confused moment, the Veth soldiers thought their weapons had worked. Perhaps the human had been completely destroyed, leaving nothing behind. Then the screaming started. Doan had not disappeared. He had moved. But he had moved so fast that no eye could follow him. In the time it took for the plasma to travel 50 meters. He had crossed 300. He was now standing in the middle of the first rank. What happened next would be studied by military experts across the galaxy for decades. Recording drones captured everything, but even slowed down 100 times. It was difficult to understand what they were seeing. Dahan moved through the Veth formation like water flowing through rocks. He did not run. Running required effort, and there was no effort in his movements. He simply flowed from one position to another, and wherever he went, soldiers fell. A touch to the neck, and a Veth warrior collapsed unconscious. A gentle push to the chest, and a soldier stumbled backward into 3 of his companions. A slight redirect of a rifle barrel, and a Veth shot his own ally in the leg. Every movement was small and precise, using the enemy's own weight and momentum against them. In 11 seconds. 200 elite Veth soldiers lay on the gray dust. Not one of them was dead. Doan stood in the center of the fallen, his breathing completely normal. He had not even broken a sweat. The remaining Veth army stood frozen. No one moved. No one even seemed to breathe. They had just witnessed something that should not be possible. General Torak gripped the railing of his platform, so hard that the metal bent under his fingers. His 4 eyes were wide with something he had not felt in many years: fear. That was 1% of my operational capacity, Dohan said. His voice carried across the silent army. I am under orders to minimize harm. But I want you to understand something, General. He began walking toward the command platform, slowly, calmly. Earth did not send an army because an army would be wasteful. Armies mean death on both sides. They mean supply lines and logistics and medical ships. They mean orphans and widows and destroyed families. He gestured at the fallen soldiers around him. These warriors have people who love them. They have lives beyond this battle. They do not need to die for your pride. What are you? Torak whispered. His voice had lost all its thunder. Dohan considered the question as he walked. I am what humanity created when we decided that war was too expensive, he said. Not expensive in money or resources. Expensive in lives. In suffering. In the damage it does to everyone involved. He passed groups of Veth soldiers who raised their weapons but did not fire. They had seen what happened to those who tried. We spent 300 years improving ourselves, Dohan continued. Not through violence or conquest, but through science and medicine. We learned how to make our bodies faster, stronger, more efficient. We developed technology that enhances our senses and reactions. We trained our minds to remain calm in any situation. He reached the base of the command platform and looked up at Tarek. But we did not do this to conquer other species. We have no interest in your worlds. We did it so that we could protect ourselves without becoming monsters. Commander Vila stepped forward. Her hand was near her weapon, but she did not draw it. The classified reports, she said quietly. They mentioned humans like you. We thought they were exaggerations. Stories made up to frighten new officers. They are not stories, Dahan said. How many of you are there? In the Strategic Response Division? A little over 10,000. Each of us is capable of what you just witnessed. He paused. Though some are significantly more capable. Vila felt her blood go cold. 10,000. If even half of them were like this human, they could dismantle the entire Veth military in a matter of weeks. You could have sent your enhanced soldiers to conquer the galaxy, Torek said. His voice was hollow. With that kind of power, you could rule everything. Yes, Dawn agreed. We could have. But that was never the point. He pulled a small device from his belt and pressed a button. A holographic image appeared in the air, showing a beautiful city filled with alien beings of a species the Veth had conquered decades ago. Do you recognize this world, General? Torek looked at the image with confusion. That is Sheva Prime. We conquered it 40 years ago. Look closer. The image shifted, showing details. Schools filled with children. Markets busy with shoppers. Parks where families gathered to enjoy the sunlight. It looked nothing like a conquered world. After your forces left, Earth sent aid, Dohan explained. Doctors to heal the wounded. Engineers to rebuild the cities. Teachers to restore their schools. We have been doing this for 60 years, General. Following your conquest and healing the damage. Why? Torek demanded. Those worlds mean nothing to you. They mean something to the people who live there. That is enough. The holographic images changed, showing world after world that the Veth had conquered. Each one had been quietly rebuilt by human aid workers. Cities that should have been ruins were thriving. Populations that should have been broken were recovering. This is the truth about humanity, Dohan said. We are not cowards. We simply choose not to waste lives on violence when there are better options. We could destroy your empire, General. One soldier at a time, one fleet at a time, until there is nothing left. But we would rather help the people you have hurt. Torak stared at the images for a long time. He had never seen the worlds he conquered after his armies left. He had never thought about what happened to the people who survived. You are trying to make me feel shame, he said finally. No, Dohan replied. I am trying to show you the truth. What you do with it is your choice. He deactivated the holographic device and looked directly at the general. I am here to deliver a message, General Tarek. The message is simple. Stop. Stop conquering. Stop destroying. Stop hurting people who have done nothing to deserve it. And if I refuse, then more of us will come. Not to kill your soldiers, but to stop them. Every fleet you send will be disabled. Every invasion will fail. Every plan will be disrupted. Dahan's voice remained calm. We will make war impossible for you. Not through violence, but through constant interference. Eventually, you will have to find another way to exist. Torak looked at his army. 8,000 warriors, standing silent and uncertain. They had come here expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had watched one human defeat 200 of their best soldiers without killing anyone. You speak of choices, Torak said slowly. What choices do I have now? Dawn almost smiled. It was the first real emotion he had shown. You have more choices than you think, General. That is what I came here to tell you. General Torak had not moved from his position on the command platform. His guards lay unconscious around him, taken down by Dohan with the same gentle precision he had shown against the first rank. The human had walked through them like they were children playing at being soldiers. Now they stood face to face. The conqueror of 37 worlds and the single human who had been sent to stop him. "I have questions," Torak said. His voice was quiet now, stripped of its earlier pride. "I will answer what I can," Dohan replied. "Your enhancement, your speed, your strength. How is it possible?" Dohan considered how to explain something that had taken humanity centuries to develop. "Our bodies are natural," he began. "We did not replace ourselves with machines. Instead, we improved what was already there. Our muscles have been made more efficient through genetic changes passed down through generations. Our nervous systems have been enhanced so that signals travel faster. Our brains have been trained to process information more quickly." He held up his hand, showing it to Torak. "This hand looks normal, but every cell in it has been optimized over 300 years of careful development. The same is true for every part of my body. How fast can you move?" Vila asked. She had moved closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Fast enough that most species cannot see me. Their eyes simply cannot process the information quickly enough." Dohan lowered his hand. "But speed is not the most important thing. Control is. Any fool can move quickly. The difficult part is moving precisely." Torak shook his head slowly. "Why would you develop such abilities and not use them for conquest? With warriors like you, humanity could rule the entire galaxy. That question reveals much about how you see the universe, General." Dohan's voice held no judgment, only observation. "You assume that power must be used for domination. That strength exists only to control others. That is the nature of existence. The strong rule. The weak serve, is it? Or is that simply what you have chosen to believe because it benefits you?" Torak had no answer for that. Dohan walked to the edge of the platform and looked out at the Veth army. Thousands of soldiers stood in uncertain silence, still processing what they had witnessed. "Let me tell you about humanity's history," Dohan said. "We were once like you, perhaps worse. For thousands of years, we fought each other. Kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation, religion against religion. We killed millions of our own species in conflicts that seem meaningless now." He turned back to face Torak. "We developed weapons that could destroy entire cities in a single flash. Weapons that could poison the land for generations. Weapons that could end all life on our planet if used carelessly. And yet you survived," Vela observed. "Barely. Several times, we came close to destroying ourselves completely. But eventually, we reached a turning point. We looked at what we had become and decided we did not want to be that anymore." "Just like that?" Torak asked skeptically. "You simply decided to stop being violent?" "No, it was not simple at all. It took generations of work. We had to change how we raised our children, how we educated our people, how we organized our societies. We had to learn to see other beings as worthy of respect rather than as threats or resources." Dohan paused, choosing his next words carefully. "But the most important change was in how we thought about strength. We used to believe, like you do, that strength meant the ability to harm others, to take what you want through force. That is strength," Torak insisted. "No, that is violence. There is a difference." Dohan met the general's eyes. "True strength is the ability to cause harm and choosing not to. True strength is protecting those who cannot protect themselves. True strength is building rather than destroying." He gestured at the fallen soldiers around the platform. "I could have killed every one of them. My training allows it. My enhancements make it easy. But I chose not to, because their lives have value. Because somewhere, they have families who want them to come home. Because death should never be the first option. Torak looked at his unconscious guards. In any other battle, they would be dead. The enemy would have shown no mercy. That was how war worked. But this human had defeated them without killing a single one. Your mercy could be seen as weakness, Torak said quietly. Only by those who do not understand what true strength is. Dawn's voice softened. General, you have conquered 37 worlds. How many lives have been lost in those conquests? How many families have been destroyed? How many children have grown up without parents because your armies needed another victory? Torak did not answer. He had never counted. It had never seemed important. Humanity has been watching the Veth Empire for 60 years, Dohan continued. We have seen what you do to the worlds you conquer. The destruction, the enslavement, the suffering that continues for generations. It is the way of empire. It does not have to be. Vila stepped forward. General, if I may speak? Torak nodded wearily. I have studied humanity for years, she said. Their history, their culture, their technology. What this human says is true. They were once as violent as any species in the galaxy. More violent, perhaps. But they changed. People do not change, Torak said. Individuals often do not. But societies can change over time. Humanity proves this. Vila looked at Dohan with something like respect. They chose to become something different. They chose to use their strength for protection rather than conquest. Dohan nodded. And we can help you make the same choice if you are willing. Help us? Torak laughed bitterly. We are enemies. We came here to destroy you. You came here to demonstrate your power. That is different from actually wanting to destroy us. Dawn took a step closer. I have read your psychological profile, General. You are not a monster. You are a product of your culture, just as I am a product of mine. You believe that conquest is the only path because no one has ever shown you another way. And you will show us this other way? If you let us. Earth is willing to share our knowledge, our technology, our methods for building peaceful societies. Not as conquerors, but as partners. Torak stared at the human for a long moment. In his entire life, no enemy had ever offered him anything but death. Why would you do this? He asked finally. We have hurt so many. We have destroyed so much. Why would you want to help us? Dawan's answer was simple. Because someone has to start. Someone has to be willing to break the cycle of violence. Someone has to believe that even the worst enemy can become an ally. He paused. Humanity made terrible mistakes in our past. We caused suffering that cannot be undone. But we learned from those mistakes. We became better. He looked directly into Torak's 4 eyes. You can become better too. Not through punishment or defeat, but through choice. That is what I came here to offer you. Not war. Not humiliation, just a choice. The gray dust of Kara 7 settled around them as Torak considered. Something he had never considered before in his long career of conquest. The possibility of becoming something other than a conqueror. The silence on Kara 7 stretched long and heavy. 8,000 Veth soldiers stood motionless, waiting for their general to speak. The recording drones continued to capture everything, broadcasting this moment across the galaxy. Torak looked at his hands. They were strong hands, covered in natural armor that had evolved for combat. He had used them to sign orders that destroyed civilizations. He had used them to receive tributes from conquered peoples. He had used them to strike down those who opposed him. Now those same hands trembled slightly. What would you have me do? He asked quietly. Darwin did not hesitate. Stop the conquest. Turn your fleets around. Go home. That simple? Just stop? The decision is simple. What follows will be difficult. Dohan acknowledged this truth openly. Your empire is built on expansion. Your economy depends on resources taken from conquered worlds. Your people expect glory and victory. Changing all of that will take time and effort. My own officers might kill me for suggesting such a thing. Some might try, Dalhon agreed. Change is always resisted. But you are not without support. He gestured to Commander Viola, who had been listening carefully throughout. Your second-in-command has already shown doubt about the old way. There are others in your military who feel the same. Officers who are tired of endless war. Soldiers who want to go home to their families. Viola nodded slowly. He is right, General. I have heard the whispers among the troops. Many of them fight because they are ordered to, not because they believe in conquest. And the council? The politicians who demand expansion? Politics can change when circumstances change, Dohan said. Right now, the Veth political system is built around military success. But if military success becomes impossible, they will have to find new ways to measure achievement. Torak turned to face his army. Thousands of faces looked back at him, waiting. If I give this order, he said, I will be remembered as the general who ended the empire. You will be remembered as the general who started something new, Dohan corrected. Not an end, but a transformation. The Veth people will not disappear. They will simply become something different, something weaker, something wiser. There's a difference. Torak closed his 4 eyes. In his mind, he saw the worlds he had conquered. He had always imagined them as trophies, proof of Veth superiority. But now he saw them differently. He saw the destroyed cities and the displaced populations. He saw the children growing up in the shadow of occupation. He saw the suffering he had caused without ever bothering to look. You showed me those images, he said, opening his eyes. The rebuilt worlds. The schools and markets and families. Did humanity really do all of that? Yes. Teams of volunteers working for decades. No weapons, no armies. Just doctors and engineers and teachers trying to heal the damage. Why would they volunteer for such work? They gained nothing from it. They gained the knowledge that they had helped others. For many humans, that is enough. Dawn paused. Your species could do the same. The Veth are skilled builders. Your architecture is among the most impressive in the galaxy. Instead of conquering worlds, you could help rebuild them. Torak stared at the human for a long moment. The idea was so foreign to everything he had been taught that it took time to even understand it. You are asking me to become a healer instead of a warrior, he said finally. I am asking you to become both. The universe needs strength, but it needs strength that protects rather than destroys. Vila spoke up. General, the Ithani. The name hung in the air. The Ithani were a peaceful species scheduled to be the next target of Veth expansion. They had no military, no weapons, no way to defend themselves. We were going to attack them next week, Torak said quietly. I know, Dohan said. That is why I am here now. You came to save them. Not to defeat us, but to save a species we were planning to destroy. Yes, Torak felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it as shame. The Ithani have done nothing to anyone, he said. They create art and music. They share it freely with any species that wants it. They are completely harmless. And completely vulnerable, Dohan added. That is why they need protecting. The general looked at his hands again. Strong hands. Warriors' hands. Protectors' hands? If I refuse, he said slowly, more of your soldiers will come. You will interfere with every operation. You will make conquest impossible. Yes, But if I agree to stop, if I turn the Empire toward a different path, what then? Then Earth will help you. We will share technology for building rather than destroying. We will send advisors to help restructure your economy. We will work with you to heal the wounds of the past. Torak looked at Vela. She nodded. Just slightly. He looked at his army, still standing in perfect formation, waiting for orders. He looked at the lone human who had defeated 200 of his soldiers without killing any of them. And then General Torak, conqueror of 37 worlds, made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. All units, he announced, his voice carrying across the army. Stand down. The word spread through the ranks like wind through grass. Weapons were lowered. Soldiers looked at each other in confusion, then relief. We are going home, Torak continued. There will be no attack on the Ithani. There will be no more conquest. The recording drones captured everything. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched in astonishment. Dohan extended his hand. It was an old human gesture of peace. Torak looked at the hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, he took it. I do not know how to be anything other than a conqueror, Torak admitted. You will learn, Dohan said. We all had to learn. 3 years later, Ambassador Yuna stood before the Galactic Council. Beside her was Torak, no longer a general but the first speaker for reconstruction. The final resettlement is complete, Yuna announced. All populations displaced by the old empire have been returned to their homeworlds. Rebuilding continues on schedule. Torak stepped forward. His voice, once used to command armies, now carried a different kind of authority. The Veth Federation apologizes for the harm we caused, he said. We commit ourselves to healing what we broke, for as long as it takes. In the audience, species that had once fled in terror from the Veth watched in amazement. Later, in a quiet corridor, Yuna found Dohan looking out at the stars. You could take some time off, she suggested. You have earned it. There is a situation developing in the Outer Reach, Dohan replied. 3 factions fighting over resources. Could turn violent? Earth is sending you? Just me. He smiled slightly. That is usually enough. Yuna watched him go. A single soldier carrying the hopes of a species that had learned to be strong without being cruel. Somewhere, across the galaxy, on worlds that had once been conquered, children played in rebuilt cities. Teachers taught in restored schools. Families gathered in parks that had once been battlefields. And humanity, the cowards who sent only one trooper, continued their quiet work of making the universe a little better, one choice at a time.